Hello, today I will be presenting to you the implementation of Lean Six Sigma in the military healthcare environment by analyzing projects carried out by different teams in departments at a medical institution using Lean Six Sigma to try to improve their processes. The first project happened at the oncology and hematology department, and their problem was that the prescriptions that patients had been given, or the dosage of the medication that they had been prescribed, was not the same given to them during their treatment. To solve this issue, the team used the DMAIC approach to look for possible solutions. Their goal was to at least reduce by 25% near misses in delays of administering the medications to the chemotherapy patients. They created a flow chart to better understand how the process was flowing and look for possible solutions. For the measure phase, they collected data for 100 different patients and their order sets or templates in which the doctor would write the dosage of the medication, and found out that the main causes of near misses were patient identification factor, that a patient could share the last name or same 4 last digit of their social security number, illegible handwriting by the person who had filled the template or order set, incorrect dosage written into the order set, not writing the exact name of the medication that was going to be administered to the patient, and different doctors were not having consistent body surface area calculation, which is used to calculate the dosage that is going to be administered to a patient during their treatment. A fishbone diagram that they created showed that indeed the main causes for near misses were wrong dosage, illegible handwriting, and incorrect patient identification factors. For the improvement phase, they linked printers to CPRS, which is a medical electronic record of the patient, to get their correct patient identification factors when delivering the medication. They standardized BSA calculations and created a subcommittee to verify that the order sets or prescriptions were being correctly delivered to the patient. This created a 94% reduction in near misses, which was successful for the project. The second project happened at the emergency department, and it was related to the average length of stay, which was higher than other institutions. Again, they used the DMAIC approach to try to solve this issue. Their length of stay frequently exceeded 400 minutes, and they wanted to reduce admission delay by at least 2% and improve length of stay of patients admitted or discharged by at least 20%. A CPOC chart was created to have a better picture of the process, and they measured collected data for 2 weeks to have baseline performance measurements. They created a fishbowl diagram for the analyzed phase of key moments when visiting the emergency department to see what could cause delays when a patient went through these different important moments during their visit. And for the improved phase, they carried out 3 different pilots. The first one was focused on increasing the capacity of the department. The second, in the proper use of EDIS, which is a software that tracks where a patient is at specific points in their visit to the emergency department and can increase the speed of the visit if used properly. And the third one was creating a nurse facilitator role, which will make sure that a patient knew where they were supposed to go to increase the flow of the visits to their emergency department. They made sure to keep the changes done during the different pilot run during the project. And as you can see, the admit delays and length of stays were reduced significantly. The third project happened at the intensive care unit area. And what happened was that they were having low bed capacity utilization rates, or they were having many empty beds, and their staff and nurses in charge were not were there just taking care of empty beds. They used a Kaizen approach found in Lean Six Sigma to try to solve this issue, and their baseline performance measurements show that the medical intensive care unit, cardiac care unit, and surgical intensive care unit occupancy rates were really low. This could create issues with their VERA funding, which is the money that the federal government grants them to run the hospital, because the staff utilization rate was not optimal, as the nurses were there basically with no patients to take care of most of the time. They noticed that the target nursing hours per ward day had a huge variance from the target for the department at the intensive care unit. So to solve this issue, they reduced the amount of beds at the department. They electronically rearranged beds so they could bring patients from other departments from a regular floor at the hospital, put them at the intensive care unit bed. The nurse would take care of him, but he would not receive intensive care unit treatment, and they would use the staff, and the cardiac care unit and medical intensive care unit staff were merged and reduced. As you can see, the occupancy rates were increased, and the department saved almost $2 million. This project that team at the hospital carried out happened at the home care department. Here, they were going to face a quality inspection by the Joint Commission, which makes sure that the hospital offers their staff and the people visiting the hospital a safe experience. The Joint Commission ranks the hospital using this matrix, which is the likelihood to harm a patient, visitor, or staff on the visit to the department. They noticed that the staff was unprepared for the inspection, and they carried out a Plan to Study Act approach in which they created a mock survey. So a mock surveyor would go around asking the staff the question that the Joint Commission was going to ask them, and making sure that if they did not know the correct response to the questions, they would know the procedure that they had to carry out to offer a safe experience for everybody. These project concluded in the recertification of the hospital quality department by the Joint Commission, showing that the project had been successful. This project I was personally involved in, and it occurred at the pharmacy, and it was divided in two different phases. One that used a 5S approach found in Lean Six Sigma, and the other one, the second phase, used Kaizen and simulation, which are also Lean Six Sigma techniques. So for the first phase, what happened was that the Joint Commission was going to visit the pharmacy to carry out an inspection and they noticed that their storage system was not meeting the safety standards required by the Joint Commission. They did a lot of Gemba work to go and fix that issues and try to look for possible causes of trouble and solutions to these troubles. And doing this, they found out that they were having issues also in the process here depicted by this flowchart of a patient visiting the pharmacy to pick up their medications. So when a patient visit the pharmacy and try to pick their medication, they would see a pharmacist first, wait for their name to be displayed by in a bingo board for them to know that they could go to a dispensing window and pick up their medications. At times of high demand, the medical staff at the pharmacy would be overworked, and long queue lines would be formed at the pharmacy. So to solve these issues, the team carried out time studies to create a simulation model using Arena, and found out that the main issues in the pharmacy causing the long queue lines were related to poor signage, technician shortage, and bingo board locations which were not displayed appropriately for everybody to see. The team proposed to add one more technician, relocate the bingo board, and improve signage. And at the time, the visit to the pharmacy took for about 43 minutes, and in the simulation it took 27 minutes, which was a 37% reduction. The last project I was involved in was happened in conjunction between the prosthetic department and the physical medical rehabilitation when trying to dispense power mobility wheelchairs to veterans who required so. So physical medical rehabilitation would check if a patient required a power mobility wheelchair. They would generate a purchase order, and the prosthetics department would build the wheelchair from the parts that they received. However, they could not track the status of the process, or where the parts of the wheelchair were, or when they would arrive to the hospital to build it at any point in the process. To solve this issue, they followed the DMAIC approach, and trying to solve this issue was important, as a power mobility wheelchair can cost around $5,000 to $25,000, which is a lot of money for a federally owned hospital. Optimizing the process could save money, time, and increase customer satisfaction. They started by creating a CPAC chart to understand the process and how it was flowing. They've noticed that the current mean time to dispense a wheelchair were 75 days, and their goal was to reduce it to at least 60 days. The first action they took was to update the prosthetic order request, because the old one did not have key data that the prosthetic department need to see when building a wheelchair and asking for a wheelchair, such as the vendor that was going to give them the parts of the wheelchair, the body's measurements to assemble the wheelchair appropriately for the veteran, and they add these features to the new order request. The team also proposed to hire 4 assistive technology practitioners, which work for physical medical rehabilitation department, and were the ones who said that yes, the patient did require a wheelchair and what accommodations they needed, which improved the process. In the end, they hired 3 purchasing area agents, and when comparing data from old templates to the new templates, we can see that the average days to close a consult in the old templates to the new templates was significantly reduced. This shows that for the different projects that I analyzed here, Lean Six Sigma was beneficial, and that it can indeed be applied in a military healthcare environment to gain significant benefits. The techniques that were used here were all beneficial for the endeavors that the different teams try to go into, and they all saw positive effects when using Lean Six Sigma to try to increase the efficiency of their processes at the hospital. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a nice day.